So welcome in this video where I would like to show you how you can set up an agent in Microsoft Copilot Studio that with the help of a Power Automate flow and agent flow can manage your purchase frame agreements. That means you have your frame agreements in any format, scanned PDF files, images, photos taken by the phone. You just drop them into a SharePoint folder and the agent with the flow attached will store the files into the correct folders and will extract the data line by line, item by item into an online Excel table. With that, you can keep a track of your purchase agreements, validities, frame quantities, unit prices, and so on. And you can speed up your administration processes very much. This flow is similar to the one that I showed in the invoice management video of mine. Please check that one as well, and let me dive into it. So, the topic of the video, automated purchase agreement processing. The technology stack we will use here is Copilot Studio with GPT-4o model, Power Automate, SharePoint Online, and Excel Online Business, an online Excel file that will be stored in a SharePoint library. The outcome that we are expecting, that the vendor, the item, the quantity, the unit, the price, currency, validity dates are extracted from the purchase frame agreements and stored in a registered, organized way. So we will upload the files, we will use OCR, then AI extraction. After that, we will fill the Excel, and then we will automatically route the original files, whether the processing was successful or not. They will be dropped to the appropriate folder. The high-level architecture of this flow, we have a SharePoint library with the purchase agreements drop zone, which is the root folder. Then the Power Automate flow will be a trigger purchase agreement processing. Copilot Studio, there will be generative orchestration turned on, but a dedicated topic, purchase agreement processing is the name, will be used for this. And the Excel register, we have an online Excel file stored in the SharePoint library. The SharePoint structure and the trigger logic. The library, as I mentioned to you, is the purchase agreements folder. Within this folder, we have 4 subfolders. OCR text is the temporary OCR output folder for TXT files. Then we have the processed folder, where the files that were processed successfully will be stored at the end of the flow. Error folder for the files that weren't successful, and the purchase agreement data folder, in which the purchase agreement registration online Excel file is stored. Let me show you this on SharePoint, how it looks. We have the purchase agreements folder and the 4 subfolders. All the 3 on the top are empty, except for the 4th one, which is the purchase agreement data, which is purchase agreement registration Excel file. Then the trigger is a Power Automate flow. It monitors the purchase agreements root folder, and after the file is created there, initiates an OCR processing and hands off to Copilot Studio data. It looks like in the following way. With the OCR action, it extracts the text from PDF files, images, whatever, stores it as a TXT file in the OCR TXT folder, and calls the dedicated Copilot Studio agent and hands over the OCR text path, file location, and the original file ID in the SharePoint library to the agent. Let me show you in Power Automate this flow quickly. It looks in the following way. We are starting with the trigger action when a file is created in a folder. In this, the dedicated purchase agreements folder is set up as the folder. Then we are initializing a variable, an all text string variable. In this variable, we will store all the OCR data. Then we use the recognize text in image or document action, where the input is the file content of the trigger. Then we have a loop here for each action, and with embedded in that an apply to each action. With them, we are moving through on all lines and all text recognized by the recognize text in image or document action. And Within this, applied to each loop, we have the append to string variable action, where to the alt text variable we are connecting and adding the datas from the recognize text in image or document action in a way that besides the pure text that was recognized, we are also storing the top and the left coordinates of the bounding box of the text. With this, after that, Copilot Studio knows where this text is located within the document, so it can build up a picture about the whole document for itself. The formula for that looks in the following way. Then we have a create file action in which, as I mentioned, we are storing this text content into a txt file in the OCR text library. In this action, we have the following function for the file name determination, and the file content is the alt text variable, the string variable we have filled up now. Finally, we have the execute copilot action. As I mentioned to you, we are sending over the OCR text file path and the original file ID of the PDF, image, whatever file. These two data are sent over or handed off to the Copilot Studio agent. Then the agent configuration, we have generative orchestration turned on, model GPT-4o, and free tools attached. Add the row into a table, which is an online Excel tool, move file, a SharePoint tool, and list rows present in a table, also an online Excel tool. And only a very short instruction we have attached to this agent. If a prompt arrives that contains the file path of a txt file, then please use this topic, and the topic is the purchase agreement processing, which should be used in this case. Let's see this in the Microsoft Copilot Studio. We have our agent here, generative orchestration turned on, GPT-4o is the model. It is important in the settings to disable that the agent can use the web or its own knowledge. It should use only the data and files we are adding to it. The instructions we have here, as I mentioned to you, and the tools. We have 4 tools attached to this agent, 2 online Excel tools and 2 SharePoint file management tools. For all 4, we have constant settings in the background. This means if I'm checking the add a row into a table action, I have here my SharePoint library and the SharePoint file settings, where I'm pointing to the online Excel file with table 1, where I have my purchase agreement registration. Let me show you meanwhile this file. It looks in the following way. It has 9 columns with the vendor, item ID, item name, frame quantity, unit, unit price, currency, valid from, and valid until columns. The other online Excel action is set up in the similar way as well, list rows present in a table. This action will be used later on if we want to ask for any data or any details about the frame agreement statuses, items within that. The agent can use this to receive or get all details of the online Excel file. Here also the setup is constant for the online Excel file, and we have 2 move file actions. One is called processed and the other one error. Within these actions as well, I have a permanent setup for the SharePoint libraries and also the destination folder in which the files should be moved to. We have the similar settings for the move file error action as well, but now the destination folder is the error folder within the purchase agreements root folder. Then the topic, the purchase agreement processing topic, is built up in the following way. We are first parsing the input, the OCR text path and the original file ID with a prompt action. After that, we have an agent flow within this topic. With this agent flow, we are getting the data from this txt file, loading it into the agent, and also deleting that temporary txt file in the OCR.txt folder. After we have the main prompt, the main logic within this topic running, then we are writing the rows to the Excel, and finally we are moving the original files to the process or the error folder. Let me show you how this topic looks like in Copilot Studio. We have here the purchase agreement topic, starting with a prompt action, which is a very compact input. The input is only that the input is the path and the ID input, and the output should be a JSON file with the OCR file path and original file ID. And the result of that is looking in the following way. After the prompt action, as I mentioned, we have the agent flow. Now we have the file path of the txt file, and we are adding it as an input to the agent flow and starting it. Let me show you how it is set up. The agent flow is set up in the following way, starting with a trigger when an agent calls the flow. The input is the file path of the txt file. Then we are getting the file content using pass action. After that, we are responding to the agent with the OCR text string in which we are storing the file content of the txt file. After that, we are getting the file metadata using the pass in order to have the file ID, while at the end, with the delete file action, we are deleting this temporary txt file. Then we can jump back to our topic, and we have now the process agreement processing logic, which is the main prompt within this flow. The extraction logic, we need a structured data output. With this prompt, we are generating the agreement data's JSON file, which contains arrays of objects, because within one file, one purchase frame agreement, we can have several items, and all the items should have the data of the vendor, the item ID, item name, and so on. The properties we are looking for are the vendor, item ID, item name, frame quantity, unit price, currency, valid from, valid until. They are exactly the columns of the online Excel file as well. And the data structure is the following. For example, for the item ID, we can have several ones, as many items, as many items we have in the document. And we have the last property, all data's OK. If all the datas have been found and filled up, then the value of this property is yes. If not, then no. Let me show you in Microsoft Copilot Studio how it looks. The prompt of the action is built up on the following way. We have an input, after that a description, how the text is built up in the OCR text file. This means first we have the text, after that the top and left coordinate of the bounding box of the text. To do is to generate the JSON. A JSON should look in the following way: item ID, item name, vendor, quantity, and so on. And here, everywhere, I'm mentioning that please create an array if there are multiple items. And by the item name, please create an array in connection with the item ID above if there are multiple. And this sentence is used almost everywhere in order to have the correct arrays and objects. And finally, we have the all data's OK property, yes or no, based on whether all data's above could be determined or not. General rules, please ignore grammar and spelling mistakes. The output should look like this. We have the item ID separately stored in an array for the 3 items, then the item names as well, vendor, frame quantity, and so on. Then what we need to do now, depending on whether we have all the data determined, yes or no. If yes, we need to fill up the Excel file and move the original file to the process folder. If no, then move directly the original file to the error folder. What we do in order to handle the different items within this JSON file, we are initializing a counter, a variable, a number variable. Initial value is 1. Then we use the add row action to fill up the online Excel file, in which we have an input where we are using the index power x6 formula with the counter variable inside in order to map all the items in this JSON file, and this counter is used then step by step to manage all the items within the file. Loop control and file routing. As I mentioned, first we are checking whether all data are okay or not. If yes, then we have the online Excel action, and then the file is moved to the process folder. If no, then the file is moved directly to the error folder without any online Excel action. The loop is set up in the following way, and I will show you that in Copilot Studio as well. We have the counter. After each add the row action, we are increasing the value of the counter by 1. We are then checking whether the number of the counter is less or equal to the count rows, the number of the items within this JSON file. If it's less or equal, then after the condition, we are jumping back to the add row action. I am showing to you how it is built up in Copilot Studio. After we have our agreement data's JSON file, we have a condition in which we are deciding whether the all data's awk file is yes or no. If it's no, so we have missing datas, then we are using the move file error action in order to move the original file with the help of the original file ID input that we parsed in the very beginning. We are moving the file to the error folder. If we have all the datas, then we are initializing the counter variable. Initial value is 1. Then we have add the row into a table action where we need an item input. This input is built up in the following way. This will be a formula. This is a formula, and it looks in the following way. We have all the 9 properties as the columns of the online Excel file, and each property is defined with such a formula. We have the index function here, then the structured output of the JSON file, where we used the topic counter variable to move step by step on all items within this JSON file. Basically now I can just simply copy this formula into the input field here, like this. Then, as I mentioned to you, I'm increasing the value of the counter by 1. After that, I have a condition whether the value of the counter is less than or equal to the number of the items within the JSON file determined with this count rows function. If the answer is yes, that the counter is less or equal to that, then I'm going to the step add the row into the table action. And this loop is going on until I'm reaching the value of the counter that is above the number of the rows, the count rows value, and then I'm going on this branch finally to the move file processed action, where I'm moving the file to the processed folder. Here I need to add as an input the original file ID, as I did by the move file error action. I'm just saving and publishing the flow once again. Perfect. I'm preparing the activity tab here, and it's now time for testing. I have my empty purchase agreement registration online Excel table. I have my SharePoint folder system where the error and the processed folders are empty, and the OCR.txt folder empty as well. Here I need to drag and drop my files, and my files are here, sample files generated with AI, but after that I just printed signed and scan them again in order to have a realistic use case here. And I also tried to misalign in the scanner a bit and so on. For example, here I have a frame agreement, valid from, valid until, the item IDs, item names, units, and so on. What you need to know that the first 3 files are having all the datas and the last 2 having missing datas. For example, by the 4th one, we have here valid until not specified in this agreement. So I'm simply grabbing these 5 files and just dropping it here into the SharePoint folder. And let's see what is happening. I'm moving to Power Automate, where I'm going back to the history overview. I can see that the flow is running now for all the 5 files, and all the 5 succeeded. Then in Copilot Studio, I'm having 2 processes running at the moment, and now all the 5. And all the 5s are completed. Let's see what happened in any of them. We have the trigger, which is the OCR text path input and original file ID, as we planned. Then the topic, purchase agreement topic was used. If I'm checking the transcript, here after the trigger, I have now the result of the OCR action. In a way, as we mentioned, I have the text, and after that the left and top coordinate of the bounding box of the text. In the same way, went through on the whole document. And now what I need to see is a field online Excel table, and that's what I have here. I have 9 lines, 9 items, and they are sourcing from 3 different frame agreements, because I have 3 vendors here with the item IDs, the item names, frame quantity, unit price, and the validities as well. In the SharePoint library, I have nothing here in the root folder. I have 3 files, 1, 2, and 3, which is processed, and the 4th and the 5th one should be in the arrow folder. We added the list rows present in the table action to the agent as well, in order to be able to ask any questions after that about the purchase agreement registration table. Let's test this out as well. I have an example question here. It sounds in the following way. Is there a valid purchase agreement for item and the item ID here? Just adding it here in the test chat. Show activity when testing is turned on. List rows present in the table is used. And the answer is yes, there is a valid purchase agreement. The agreement is valid from 16th of January until the 31st of December. I have my item here, 16th of January, 31st of December. So with the help of this agent and the flow, I could register in a structured way all my frame agreements from any sources and in any type, any file format. I'm creating a part 2 of this video in which I'm adding this agent to my email flows. That means if I'm sending out or I'm receiving emails in connection with the purchase orders, purchase requests about items, products that should have a frame agreement in the background, then I will have a permanent monitoring in the background, and the agent can tell me that be aware there's no valid frame agreement in the background, or the unit price is not the one that is in the frame agreement for this item. This is my main target with that. So see you in part 2 of this video.